there, yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my living room here in Vancouver, Canada. So welcome. Today is Monday, June 7th, 2021, and this is video number 112. So it's been a while since I updated you on my last podcast. I thought it was time to come in and catch you up on what's been going on. I've got two finished works, one work that is still a work in progress, and an acquisition. It's a publication on stitches, both in knit and crochet, that I made from a bookstore I wandered into. Really excited about this book. I wanted to do a little bit of a review on it and learn a bit more about my fiber friends out there and how they learn new stitches and how they learn new techniques, whether it's tutorial based, whether you like reading patterns, whether you prefer your patterns to be in diagrams or charts or in the written fashion. So yeah, I'm really interested to find out how people learn, and I want to open that up to fiber friends for commenting. If your very first time is here on the channel today, I want to say welcome. I'm Gary. I'm the host of Urban Yarn. I set this channel up to talk about all of my yarny adventures. That's in knit, crochet. I dabble a little bit in hand dyeing of yarn in the kitchen, nothing on a huge scale. I talk about where I purchase my yarn from and price points. If there's any sales, I'd like to flag them for my fiber friends. For the fiber friends returning, I want to say welcome back. Great to see everyone again, in a cyber sense anyway. Not that I can physically see you, but yeah, I've been loving reading all of your comments over the last couple of videos. They have been very encouraging. Now, I am aware that there are so many podcasters out there, and I have difficulty myself catching up with all the people that are my favorites. So I really appreciate you spending time and choosing this video to watch. So thank you so much. Let's kick into the podcast and talk about some of the finished works. The first one being another brioche hat. So you saw about 4 inches of this, or 3 inches of this hat being done. And this is my second one to the pattern that I've knitted up. And it's called the brioche hat pattern. Now, I will link the pattern down below so you can find where it is, who the designer is, and if you want the pattern yourself, you can click on the link down below. It's from a publication from Novita, and this is how it turned out. More of a slouchy style. The first one that I did verbatim to the pattern suggestion of the length, and it gave me a more form-fitting hat. And this one here, I wanted to make more of a longer tube and have it more of a slouchy hat. So my model's head here is a 20-inch circumference sized head. So it's kind of a bit too big for a 20-inch head, but I'll take it off so that you can see how it looks on my head. I have a 23-inch circumference head, and it's really nice, squishy fabric. It has a vibe from like a hipster kind of vibe. I like that. It's really youthful and kind of, I don't know, I just like the feel of it. It's quite warm. It has 100% wool with one of the yarns that I use, so it's quite a warm woolen hat. Now, what I've done is I have cuffed it up because it could be even longer if I unravel the cuff, and then I have like extra length to it as well. But I kind of like it with the cuff on there. And there's 2 reasons why. Not that I didn't like the length of it when it's super long, but I do like it better when it's a little bit less floppy. But I also had done something with the knit. When I had started the hat, I had switched out the contrast and the main color around here, as you can see. So the reverse was being completed with the contrast and main colors being switched around. So then it was the silver color here being the main color, not the earthy tones like the rusty red and the olive green color. So I liked that the silver was pushed out forward as the dominant color, and which meant when I cuff it up, I get the silver being the dominant color as well in the cuff when I roll it. So I really, really like that. I'll show you the inside because it does have the reverse of the color arrangement on the inside of the hat. There's where the change was. And yeah, so really nice, beautiful it's like a 4 quadrant decrease at the top, and you get this lovely, I'll turn it back the right way, this lovely swirl here where all of them kind of unite in the middle as it decreases. I love that. It's awesome. So what did I use? What yarn I used was a over-dyed yarn. Originally the yarn was Peyton's Classic Wool Worsted, so a 4-weight yarn in 100% wool. The colorway originally was light gray marl, but I had over-dyed it in these rusty reds and olive green colors. Really beautiful. So many intricate little nuances of different color that run through there. So some quite orangey, some quite dark brown, some quite red, ruby red kind of colors in there. So I loved that. The second one was Yarn Art Pacific in this colorway called 300. Doesn't have a name, just a number. And it's ashy, smoky, silver and gray. I love this yarn too. So this is 20% wool and 80% acrylic. So not as much wool as the 100% wool, obviously. It's 100%. This is only 20% wool. And it is a sport weight, so a lighter weight yarn. The knitting needles that I used were Lackey or Likey Driftwood collection. And the circumference of the needles were 3mm circumference. The length of the cable was, or is, I should say, 16 inches. Really, really nice to work with. The points themselves are not that pointy, but they're not dull. They're kind of in the middle. And I had no trouble working the brioche stitch with these ends at all. There was no splitting of the yarn. The next thing I want to talk to you about is this book publication that I picked up from our local store here in Vancouver. And the book publication is called 1,000 Japanese Knitting and Crocheting Stitches. It is true to the title. There are 1,000 stitch combinations that you could use or stitch patterns to learn. And the publishers of this are called Tuttle, Tuttle. And this is the designer's name or the writer, author's name up here, Nimhon Vogue. And I am sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. So I was looking through this book. I won't be able to show you any of the swatches because the charts are right beside it and there might be copyright issues. But oh my goodness, I am going to be learning so much over the course of a lifetime. And if I just touch scrape the iceberg, tip of the iceberg with any of this skill set in this book, I would be the most happiest crafter. So a little bit about the book. It is around 2/3 knitting and 1/3 of it is crochet. It does break everything down into 2 sections, like the knitting or the crocheting. And under those titles, you'll find things like for knitting, you've got the color work, you've got cabling, you've got lace work, you've got chevron. And on the crochet side, you also have similar things to knitting, like there is color work, there is fan and pineapple stitch, there's grid work, there is, what else do they have? They've got bubble stitch, they're all different things. I'm just trying to think right now what they have. They have chevron as well. They don't have any cables in this book, and they have a whole section at the back of crocheted borders. Absolutely stunning book, well illustrated. The only thing that I can say in this book that might be a bit of a hurdle for people who are purchasing it, it was just under 40 Canadian dollars, is that they don't name the stitches, they give them numbers and they have charts to describe them. They don't have a written instruction, they have charts with symbols, and then you have to refer to a legend or a key to find out what those charts or those symbols mean. I don't mind doing that. I have done a few patterns in the past, and I believe that they were Japanese patterns that use those symbols in knitting, and I had to refer to the legend or the key often in the make, but after the make was done, I was quite comfortable with the set of symbols that they were using. I know that there is a whole bunch more of the symbols that I have not met yet along the way, so I'll have to learn those as well. So it poses a question that I'd love to get to know a little bit more about my fiber friends out there and how you guys learn, or how you learn as crafters. So I know that some people don't read patterns, they like tutorials. If you are reading a pattern or doing a tutorial, is there a preference there? Pattern readers, do you prefer written patterns or do you like charts? And tutorial learners, do you prefer, I don't know, whether there is a special way of learning, whether you're actually seeing things in slow motion, or whether you like normal speed, do you like narration, or do you like just seeing what's happening? Yeah, so absolutely love this book. Now, I know a couple of my fiber friends have already seen on my Instagram, I posted a couple of pictures of the next piece of work that I'm going to show you, and it's all to do with learning from this book. So lots of swatching, and I just continued swatching, all in this one long train of 6 feet and 2 inches of swatching to learn some stitches. And so a few people went out and they purchased the book. So let's take a look at the piece that I took photos of and posted learning from that book. Now I'm calling it the Medina Market Shawl because it does remind me of all the mosaics that I have seen in Morocco artwork or photography. I've done some ceramics using some Moroccan style motifs as well. And this reminded me a lot of that style or that culture and how they use their color and sense of patterning. So here we have one of the stitches. I can't give you a name because they're only numbers, but it's lace work here. The first like 6 rows or 4 rows is lace work. Then I move into it's like a bubble stitch, but it looks like a braid. And that was a lot of fun to learn how to do from that book. And then I move into the next stitch, which is linen moss stitch, which I've done before. And I wanted to, you know, come back to comfort a little bit after learning something. So I did something that I was familiar with. And V-stitch, which I've done before as well. I was just practicing with different yarn as while I went through this project, and I used the same hook. So I used a 4mm all the way through. So then V-stitch again. Sorry, this is moss linen stitch. And this one here is a new to me stitch, which I learned from the book. It's a combination of the fan stitch with a row of single crochets that sometimes linked in with the previous row and sometimes left loops. So that was quite a nice way stitch of learning different color technique. This one here uses flower petals, like a 4-petaled flower motif. This one's really nice. It is archway, so it's another fan style crochet, and they alternate each row. They're sort of offset a little bit, like half offset, so they kind of look angular. And back to the V-stitch, back to the moss stitch. Here we have another stitch here, which is a half granny and half the next row is like a fan stitch, so a granny and a fan stitch together. quite nice. This one is textural. It uses through the back post and creates these ridges with an alternate color or a contrast color, which is very nice. Then the V-stitch. There's that arch stitch again, which is kind of like on offset. Back to the moss and V-stitch, moss stitch, and then again that like a braid, and then the same lace work at the end. So yeah, I did it in a way where I wanted to balance it up and have the same ends. So this is one end, and so I cut my yarn and I copied the other end for maybe the first 3 panels. So they have the same thing happening for the first 3 panels. And then I go into all different things like changing up the color, changing up the stitch work, and so on and so forth. So it is 16 inches in width and then 6 feet and 2 inches in length. So I'll try it on. I really like it. It was a lot of fun to do. It was a great learn, and I have some photos which I will add in to the end of the video so you can see how it drapes on a hanger, and also me wearing it as well, because actually that looks pretty good. Yeah, there we go. And another thing that I want to touch base on as well is another finished object that I completed possibly about 2 weeks ago. It was a dog bed to Crystal at Bag O' Day's tutorial. Hi Crystal, and I sent that off and it's gotten its way over to the family, and Miss Muggins, the dog, is now enjoying that bed. So I've got a photo of it at the end of the video as well that I'll include. So she loves it. My mother-in-law and father-in-law both said that it might take her a little time to get used to the bed, but when they put it over like a cover on her existing bed so it's easier to pull off and wash, she jumped in there straight away and she really liked it. So she's enjoying her slumbers in that bed. So yay, I'm super happy about that. The next thing that I want to catch you up on is a update on the work that I'm doing for my little niece. So it's a jumper in color work. It's a knit project, and I finished her first sleeve. So I've done the front and the back panel and one sleeve. I still have the other sleeve, which is kind of almost done over there because I was working in tandem until I got to the bottom part here, and it was like too many yarns, too much color work working up 2 together. So I had too much yarn everywhere. So I had to pull away from working the second one and just concentrate on the one. So I am almost done with the second one as well. Then it's the neck and assembling, and I'm hoping to have it done in like 2 week time, and I'd love to show you that. Then the pattern that I'm using is called the Caramel Denim Ferrule by Fiona Alice. I had to look over there because that's where the pattern is. The yarn that I'm using for this one is a combination of Loops and Threads, which is a Michael's brand yarn, and it is their meandering serpentine in many different colors that I'm using. And what else? Oh, the yellow is the Gazelle yarn, which is the unicorn yarn. Gazelle unicorn, hand painted yarn. And the colorway of this one is 1340. So 1340. And you can find this yarn from hobiumyarns.com. No affiliation. So yeah, I'm going off script a little bit with the pattern because Fiona Alice has the design of it more boxy and the sleeves don't taper in as much. So I know my little niece is going to want to make sure that her sleeves don't sort of flop around and get, knock things off the table, or so she'll want them closer to her hands. And yeah, so this is how it's working up. Yeah. And with that, I think that catches you up on all of my yarny goodness for the week. And I love my Medina Market Shawl, and I could tell you what I have for some of the yarn, but not all of it, because it's scraps and some of them are from different bundles of here and there. Let me just try and remember quickly, because I do have yarn in front of me to share with you on what went in here. I'll just rapid fire this. So I've got Unforgettable in the colorway Echo. I have Lion Brand here. It is Cotton Comforty in this colorway. That's all that's left. I also have Caron Cake Angel Cakes in the colorway Pepper that went into it. I have a couple of different little mini balls of yarn that were in the Yarn Bee collection, and it was called City Girl. I don't know what the brand is. They came in a stack. And I have some ice yarns as well. It's called the Baby Cotton Print and Cotton Spray. So I have two different cottons from ice yarns. I also have a couple from Hobbii, which is Hobbii, and it's their cookie yarn. I'm not sure what colorway this was. And what else did I use? I used this one here, which is JPA, World of Yarn. So there's a number of different yarns in there that I used, and it is quite warm, so I'm going to be taking it off. What else? We went out for a dinner date last night with some fiber friends from where we've met from this YouTube, and that was a lot of fun. So had a beautiful Italian meal and great company. So yeah, I want to say I had a really good time. And what else? I think that's about it, really. So with that, I might bid the farewell for another week, and I'll catch you up shortly. Oh, actually, I've got to come back in a couple of days, maybe about 4 days, because I'm doing a drawing on a special sneak giveaway from the last video. If you haven't yet visited the last video, it is in there. It's a little Easter egg, so if you want to go back and watch that, that would be fun for you to enter as well. Okay, well, with that, I'll say goodbye until the next video. Bye for now. Stay safe.